All right, Rotary, easy for me to say. Wow, we're starting out like that, are we? It's game day. And if you hold for just a moment, you will hear today's song. And it's Up As Loud As It Goes. Okay, I think you can hear that. As loud as it goes. So this is today's song. Today's song is from Ryan Anderson. Ryan is a director on our board. He's the Racial Justice Co-Chair. He's with the Washington State Department of Ecology. And Ryan's song today is A Higher Place by Tom Petty. He says this song has always spoke to him in a few different ways. The tune's catchy and a little earwormy, but the lyrics hit on messages that inspire Ryan's work in his life. Like so many people, he enjoys playing on rivers and mountains and has had his share of fun and occasional near misses with high water and the need to run like we've never run or raft together if we're going to survive the weather. With Ryan's work, he's been in the thick of efforts to curtail droughts, floods, fires, I cannot talk today, and various disasters. Better outcomes for people and nature in these situations require cooperation across all kinds of human barriers. So, whether he's been giving advice for people to literally move to a higher place or to figuratively put aside differences and take higher roads of cooperation and respect, this song reminds Ryan that despite the waterline, he can maintain his sense of humor and keep the hope that we all arrive someplace warm and dry together. So thank you, Ryan, for sharing your song. And as I always say, I like that because it gives us a little glimpse into a Rotarian. So it gives us a little glimpse into Ryan Anderson. So thank you for that. Our greeters today were Lupita Carrillo and Eugene Vigil. Lupita is with the YWCA and Eugene is with Western Community Insurance, and we thank them for greeting. And now to share a little bit of inspiration for us, I'd like to invite up David Kobia. David is with Clifton Larson Allen.
Thank you, President. Excited to be here. You know, we live in a world right now where there's a lot of reason to be concerned and anxious, from technology and implementation of AI, is it going to take over the world and my job, to political divisiveness, economic uncertainties. There's a lot of reasons to be concerned, but I want to talk today about something I feel like we can all take in, and that's the concept of joy. An ancient philosopher once said that men and women are that they might have joy. So in other words, it's not accidental. It really can be part of the human condition. Another poet offered a similar perspective when he wrote, "Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning." So life includes difficulty, uncertainty, seasons of challenge, but those seasons really are just that. They're seasons. So the sun really does come up tomorrow. Thank you, Annie. And thank you, Yakima, for providing us many days of sunshine. We don't need to wait for perfect circumstances to experience joy. We find it through doing what we're doing here, through Rotary, service above self, helping other people. So when you're looking for joy, just remember that if you would like to feel good, do good. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Rotarians, you can sit. Any guests we have, if you could please stay standing so we can recognize you as our MVPs today. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being here. My name is Sherry Bissell, and I am the 107th president of this very fine Rotary Club. We are the OG. We are the original Rotary Club in Yakima, chartered in 1919. So we are not politically affiliated. We are not religiously affiliated. We don't have any secret handshakes. We're pretty easygoing. So we just want to be the good and do good in our community and beyond. So if you are interested in being on our team, you can grab one of the blue cards on the table, or talk to any one of us Rotarians, and we'd be glad to share a little bit more about Rotary with you. And I have some blue badges to present to some red rookies. So it's another blue badge party up here. So I need Howard Head, Jane Sabatka, and Cole Held, please. That's okay. Switch. Great job. There you are. Okay, they're blues now. So Howard is with Quick Lock, Jane is with Columbia Wealth Advisors, and Cole is with West Hills Memorial. So if you haven't introduced yourself to these three, please do so. You'll be glad you did. Jobs for youth. There are flyers on the frames in your tables. Please think about jobs for youth. Our committee, led by AP and Drew, they're working very, very hard. So if you can be a host employer, think about that. Maybe you know a business that could be a host employer that you could ask. That would be wonderful as well. Or maybe you or your business can sponsor a paid internship for youth. The goal is at least 100 jobs, and we can do that. We can. And there are that many youth that need our help with this, if not more. So please think about that. It can be life-changing for these youth, for sure. So please consider this. Help in any way you can. If you have any questions, you can talk to AP or Drew about it, and they would be happy to help answer your questions. Next up, for an announcement about our Rotary Ski Day, I want to bring up Andy Hawk-Leitner. She is one of the co-chairs for your Social Sports Committee. We call them special teams. And Andy is with the Central Washington Home Builder Association.
Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. Thank you, Sherry. I always love an opportunity to get up here in front of all of you. But one of these opportunities is Ski Day, and I just wanted to showcase a little bit of me. Ski Day was probably one of the first things that I was able to do as a Rotarian. I feel like I missed out on some of the early things, and I'll never forget, President Jimmy was so welcoming, a beautiful face to look at when I walked up the first time. I wasn't sure what to expect, but thank you for welcoming me and my partner then to participate. So that said, I don't ski. I didn't grow up in a wonderful environment like this. Texas, we don't really ski that much. So if you do, I want to encourage you to please do go enjoy Ski Day, RSVP in advance. It's all in the tutor. But just a reminder, if you need equipment, you can definitely rent that from Sport House. And this is an opportunity for us to celebrate with our fellow Rotarians across town. So come for pizza. I am excited to be there for the pizza part. So I look forward to see all of you. And if you're still new and don't know everyone, please feel free to see me and I'll help introduce you to everyone. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Andy. Next up, for a Community Service Committee announcement about a little project, I'd like to bring up one of your co-chairs of the committee, Mr. Zeb Ruff. Zeb is with Pacific Steel and Recycling. Zeb.
Thank you. Bring it in, Sherry, bring it in. All right, good afternoon, fellow Rotarians and guests. This community service opportunity that we have is near and dear to my heart because it's a field that I grew up playing baseball on for several years at Elks Park. Yakima Little League had a meeting and they're excited to move forward with a cleanup day at Elks Park on Saturday, March 21st from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. We'll be meeting at Elks Park concession stands at 9 a.m. Volunteers can work as they're able to throughout the day. Whether that's an hour or for the full 5 hours, it's up to you, but every little bit makes a difference. So if you're able to come out and help out, it would be greatly appreciated. Yakima Little League has asked that volunteers bring landscaping equipment if they have it. Things like rakes, gloves, shovels, clippers, even a wheelbarrow or a wagon would be helpful as well. The goal is simple but powerful. A full transformation of the park. I mean, it's not all going to happen in a day, but the more people we have out there to help, the more we can do and actually, give the park a facelift. It's in need of it. It's been there a long time. It's had a lot of teams, a lot of games played on it, and it needs some TLC for sure. It's not about just cleaning up a field. It's about creating a space where kids feel proud to play. It's about families gathering in a safe, welcoming environment. And it's about showing our community that when something needs attention, we step up. As someone who spends a lot of time around youth sports, I coach soccer, I coach basketball. I can tell you that facilities do matter. The condition of a field or gym sends a message to kids about how much their community actually values them. This is an opportunity for us to send the right message. Rotary has always been about service above self. This is a hands-on, visible way to show that. If you're available on March 21st, we'd love to see you there. Let's help make Elks Park something the whole community can be proud of. Thank you.
Sign-ups are on your table for that too, so please sign up. They have holes in the outfield. I mean, we can't have kids out there playing baseball with holes in the outfield, so we really want to help them out. So please consider that. Okay, we are ready for Sergeant at Arms, and today it is with a Hall of Famer, being past president in 2017 and 2018, and the chair of the Sergeant at Arms Committee, Miss Kelly Connaughton. She's with Yakima Greenway Foundation.
Thank you, President Sherry. Appreciate that. Happy International Women's Day to all of you and all of us. I have no idea what I just was going to tell you. It just went out my brain cell and else. But have a couple of things. I want to raise a little money today for Rotary charities, so get out your bucks. And the first thing, I'll just start off really quick with Sherry's favorite touchdown bucks. We'll put a little rule behind this. Does anyone have something they would like to celebrate with regards to a woman, daughter, daughter-in-law, employee, any woman that's in your life right now that you would like to celebrate and make a contribution to? Yes, sir. Your daughter at least turns 8 tomorrow. That's worth some bucks. All right. Anybody else? Yes, sir. 50 years, John. Oh, my God. That's worth a lot of bucks. Absolutely. Dan.
My granddaughter placed 3rd overall.
Woohoo! That's worth some big bucks. I know we've got an Olympian coming here real quick. Yes, Peter. Whoa. Daughter, a welder, but also a daughter that has a job. That's like a double thing for sure. Patience. That's great. Congratulations. That is definitely worth some bucks. Anybody else got some celebratory bunker? Woohoo! Wow, that's something to really celebrate. Anybody else? So that's tremendous. Congratulations. That's worth some bucks. All right. Dana. I'm so glad you did that. We are very excited to have our dear friend who's been away a little while, Darlene Picardi, back to our luncheons. Thank you. That's so great. Anybody else? Yes, Nancy. Holy cow. Oh my gosh. That's definitely worth celebrating. Thanks, Nancy. Well, I'm going to move on to just a couple of other things because we know Yakima is famous or has had a lot of famous individuals who are from here. And there's too many to count. But there are a few that maybe some of you might not be aware of. And so I want to bring a couple more very outstanding women to your attention. The first is a woman by the name of Beverly Cleary. So, true or false? Was Beverly Cleary a famous children's author? Okay, what? Oh, shit. I knew I did it wrong again. All right, pay a buck. Yes, of course, Beverly was an author. She only lived here for a little while and she was a librarian, but she says that living in Yakima inspired some of her books. Okay, so the answer is going to be on this one as well, so you might as well get used to it. Colleen Atwood. This was a woman I was not familiar with, but Colleen Atwood. True or false? Obviously, you know what the answer is going to be. Did she in fact receive multiple Academy Awards for her costume design? Yes, she did. She was born here in Yakima in 1948 and had a very successful career in Hollywood, winning numerous Academy Awards and recognitions for her costume design and the work that she'd done in many major films. This was one I was not aware of either, a woman by the name of Catherine Dean May. The answer is obvious to you. You know, I went to book club for the first time last night. I was feeling really intelligent and proud of myself. I'm telling you. Anyway, Catherine Dean May, she was the first woman elected to the United States Congress from the state of Washington, and she had a pretty long tenure there, in 1959 to 1971. We could use Catherine there right now, I'm telling you. But yeah, she was from Yakima. Born and raised. And lastly, who of you knew Betty Edmondson? Many of you did. I had the pleasure of meeting her once before. And obviously the answer is true. But one thing I did not know about Betty was that she was the first mayor of Yakima, Washington, and became a very important trailblazer for a number of different things here in the community, let alone an outstanding businesswoman, volunteer. You know, she was just so civic minded, and I only got the opportunity to meet her a couple of times, but she was really a tremendous woman from Yakima. And this last one, Virginia Beavert. John, did you know Virginia? Yeah. Virginia is best known for her linguistic skills here, and she's obviously one of the only women or linguists who have really done great work in trying to preserve the Yakima Native language. I have no clue how to say the Yakima Native language. Do you, John? Okay. Does anyone know? For a happy buck. Ishishkin. Ishishkin. Okay. You did. Well, that's tremendous. Well, she spoken like a true superintendent. Absolutely. Happy International Day, Women's Day to all of you.
Thanks, Kelly. And now to introduce our speaker panel for today, Director and Co-Chair of the Program Committee, Miss Dana Eliason. Dana is a nonprofit consultant. Dana.
Thank you, President Sherry. Kelly, you're a tough act to follow. So welcome guests and fellow Rotarians. And as Kelly mentioned, this Sunday, March 8th, marks the 115th anniversary of International Women's Day. And today we are celebrating this occasion a few days early by focusing on the 2026 theme this year, which is Give to Gain. This theme calls for a mindset rooted in generosity, collaboration, and shared progress, highlighting the power of reciprocity. Reciprocity? Okay, you know what I mean. When individuals and organizations invest in women, when women thrive, we all rise. In the spirit of advancing women at work, at home, and in our communities, I am honored to introduce to you our Women in Law panel. This discussion today will feature three of our very own Rotarians, Quinn Dalan, Tammy Hanlon, and Sara Watkins. These women embody the values of generosity and collaboration. They are among the many remarkable women practicing law in our community, and they will share the stories and the experiences that shape their careers. These women demonstrate the power of self-worth, the importance of choice, and the ability to influence social change. And they provide us access to opportunities, visibility, and resources. And all of us can continue to build that momentum for growth and equality. Thanks again, and welcome, ladies.
Oh.
I feel like I picked this seat so I could kind of hide behind the table and also put this down, and then they moved it. That's fine. So the first question is, what area of law do you practice, and what inspired you to become a lawyer? And I don't care what order you guys go in.
Okay. Well, I'm Sara Watkins. I don't know, at the city council, they turn it on. It never goes off at city council. So what was the question? What inspired me to be a lawyer? Why am I a lawyer?
What area of law do you
What do I
practice?
Okay.
And what inspired you to be a lawyer originally?
All right. So I practice municipal law, which for a lot of people, I have to explain, which is kind of a little bit of everything, except for criminal law. But I mostly do land use planning and contract law. So it's not as exciting as maybe being in court all the time. But what inspired me to be a lawyer is kind of strange. I was actually at the movies with my friend, like almost at the end of my college career, and I felt like I got sicked on my bucket of popcorn. And I was complaining about it and being like, look, I'm entitled to more popcorn than this for my like $6. And he turned to me and he's like, you really should be a lawyer. And then I took the LSAT, and it was literally the last semester of my college career. I was already in grad school, ready to be a public administrator, and just totally switched gears. So I'm not sure that's the most inspiring story, but that's the true story of how I got to law school.
I did not even know that. That's now my favorite story of today.
I'm Tammy Hanlon, and I practice criminal law. I've been practicing that for 27 years. I was a trial attorney for the first about 15, and now I do appeals, so a lot of research and writing. And I work on felony cases, also help train police officers and give advice to other attorneys in my office that are going to trial, so a lot of trial support for those attorneys and help out with motions and things like that. I decided to pursue environmental law because I was in college and I really liked environmental science. And so I went to a law school that specialized in that and paid a lot of money for that, which I'm not using. But in law school, I fell in love with criminal law, and I've been doing it ever since. And it's my passion, and I love what I do.
So I probably wanted to be a lawyer by the time I was in junior high. My parents had gotten divorced, and I thought women deserved representation in court in domestic violence and family law. So I went to law school. That's not what I actually practiced ever, though. So what kind of law do I practice? This is going to be a complicated answer. And I just want to tell people, I'm going to preface this with, I don't do well bored, okay? So right now I'm the executive director of Central Washington Legal Aid. We're a legal aid nonprofit that covers Yakima, Kittitas, Grant, Benton, Franklin, any civil legal need, but the attorneys I have that work for me do immigration, housing, and family law. And then, because that's not enough, I prosecute in Wapato, Zilla, and Granger, and I sometimes defend juvenile kids who are charged with crimes. And I work as a court visitor in guardianship cases. So if you have like a disabled adult, I'm the investigator to see if that person really does need guardianship. And I teach at Heritage in their poli-sci department, criminal justice department. And sometimes I serve as a district court pro tem judge. And I think that's it. They're not all full time. I just want to be like very clear about that. But anyway, they keep me occupied and they operate different parts of my brain. So, but I went to, make justice more accessible. And I think I've done that. Okay. Question number 2. What was one defining moment in your career that shaped you as a leader?
Okay, well, mine's not law related, actually. Mine actually involves the Junior League of Yakima. Shout out. So I was at a fireside chat, like my first year in Junior League, at Darcy Swanson's house. And I didn't really know anyone there. And we were supposed to be talking about like various ideas about what we're going to do for the community. And at the end of the meeting, Darcy and Kim pulled me aside and they said, you know what, you really said some important things. And I really think that you could be a Junior League of Yakima president. And it was just like just 2 people I had just met, like seeing something in me, I think like sparked this idea that, maybe I should try to do some of these things and maybe I should, hone my leadership skills. So I think that it wasn't really law related, but it's transferred into law and other aspects of my life. So if you're out there and you see people who you think are good leaders, I would say definitely tell them, because just one person telling someone can make a huge difference in like the trajectory of their lives.
Well, I made a couple notes because there's been many defining moments and it was hard to pick just one. One thing is just standing up for what you believe in at a time when you know there's going to be opposition. And I've done that throughout my career. And that's been really important to me when you know that maybe your boss isn't going to like what you have to say, or you stand up for something ethically when other people are doing things unethically. And those have been really defining moments, or going against some advice and taking a different course. I had a case where I was preparing to go to the state Supreme Court, and I met with a whole bunch of state experts to basically moot my argument or give my argument to them and get feedback. And I got done and everybody said, you need to concede, you're going to lose. And I didn't listen to the advice. I went to the state Supreme Court, I argued my case, and all 9 justices agreed with me. And that was a real, it was a win, but it was also believing in myself and that I can make the big decisions despite what other people are telling me, and that not everybody has all the answers. So that was a big moment for me.
I think when I was going through this, I had this Hague petition case. And if you're nobody even knows what this is because nobody does this work. But if you and your partner say have kids and you're from 2 different countries, the Hague, the federal court within the Hague will decide which country has jurisdiction over any kids or family law matters. It is nuanced. And I had a woman come into my office when I was in private practice. This is why I'm not in private practice, because she was like, I can't afford to pay you, but here's my here's my story. And I thought 100% for sure she was, the kid should have been in the United States. She should be in the United States. I thought she had a winning case. And she had hired, or not even hired, an attorney in town who's no longer practicing and whose name I will not mention, had agreed to go with her to the temporary, because you get an order from the court saying you need to come in and surrender passports. Like, you are stuck here until we decide where this kid's going. And so she said, well, could you do a better job than this attorney? And like, literally any of you could have done a better job than this attorney. So I said, yes, I could, but I don't know how to do this work. And she's like, I think you could learn. And so I learned the Hague. And the opposing party had an attorney who flew in from Washington, D.C., who only did that work. His offer to me was exactly what I would get if I lost, right? Which I was like, wait a second, just to like clarify, like, this is like worst case scenario for me, and that's your offer for me? He's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, I guess we'll just see. And I won, obviously. I would not be telling this story. She's still here. Her kid's now 18. I mean, this was obviously a while ago, but sometimes she'll pop back into my life and be like, I just can't thank you enough because you changed my life and you changed my kid's life. And that was just like a very like, I guess, you know what, lawyers can learn new law. Like, it took a lot of work, but you can do something new and scary. And just because the other side is from DC does not mean that they have better facts or better case. So it kind of gave me some confidence, I think. And speaking of give to gain and the theme, did you guys have a mentor who influenced your path, and what made that mentorship meaningful? And or do you mentor?
For me, it'd be both. So I had two big mentors when I first started. I started practicing law when I was 23 years old, and I was pretty young, very green. And I was just surprised somebody took a chance on me and hired me, really. And I was glad to have a paycheck. But Andy Miller was an elected prosecutor at the time, and he was a longtime prosecutor. And he just believed in me, and he provided the training that really helped my career, and he invested in me. He gave me the independence to make decisions, even if I failed, which was really important. And just having that mentorship it meant the world to me. And we had a strong chief criminal prosecutor as well, Carrie Rung, who later became a judge, and she was also just a wonderful mentor. Somebody would have their door open at all times, could take questions. She would be busy but didn't care and would stop and help you when you needed help, which is really nice. And I love mentoring too. I mentor a lot of the attorneys in the office where I work right now.
So I started in private practice, and there were not a lot of women in private practice when I started. Like, I think when I got here, it was like 10 or less, maybe less. But luckily, one of them worked at the office I worked at. And so I don't know if people know Linda Sellers, but she's still an attorney in town. And, since there weren't a lot of women, and I was also very, very green coming out of law school, she basically was she was so stable. If you know her, you know what I'm saying. Like, she's very like even keeled. Nothing really gets under her skin. And in private practice, coming out of law school, you have a lot of bosses at one time. I think I had 13 bosses with a lot of different personalities and a lot of extroverted, loud personalities. And Linda was not that person. And that made it very easy to go talk to her. It made it very easy to kind of discuss what on earth this legal issue was, or ask her questions about what to do in Yakima. I'm not from here. And so I think that she just really helped me not only with legal issues, but navigating like the legal culture of private practice, and really helping me realize you don't have to be the loudest person in the room to be a good lawyer. You don't have to be the loudest person at your office to be successful. And that sometimes the quietest people, when they do talk, they have the most important thing to say. And so, she was a huge, huge role model for me. And I'm glad that I still consider her my mentor. I mentor people, but not lawyers generally. So I volunteer with my national sorority. So shout out to the Alpha Chi Omegas out there, or anyone who's in a sorority, really. We're all sisters. But a lot of the women in college that I work with, they're doing risk management work. And so a lot of them want to be lawyers. So helping them talk about like, how do you apply for law school? What's law school like? What it's like to be a lawyer, and really, working with young people in that time of their life is just very exciting. And hopefully some of them will go to law school. Some of them have, maybe some of them will come here. Who knows? I hope so. We need some lawyers.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. We definitely need lawyers. I obviously have had a ton of really great mentors. I don't think that you get 15, 20 years into practice and not have good mentors. But what came to my mind, and he's not even here, I don't think, is Jeff Swan here. So I was a baby prosecutor. Like them, I was very young when I started. And I, within a year, went into the special assault unit where I was prosecuting felony sex offenses and domestic violence cases. And it was hard anyway, right? And my boss was a jerk. And I had this really tough case where dad/stepdad had done some things to some kids, and the family wanted it to resolve by this treatment type avenue, so they didn't have to testify. And I went to talk to my boss about it, and he screamed at me and told me I was a wuss and sent me off to court, which of course I'm like 25 maybe. So I like come and talk to Jeff Swan, who's the defense attorney on the case, right? Not somebody I worked with, not somebody who owed me anything. And I just like burst into tears because I was so upset about what had gone down in my office. And he was like, you need to go into the back room. You're going to get it together. Take all the time you need. I will, you can handle your cases later. This is not your fault, whatever. So I went into the back room in the jail basement and pulled it together eventually. And when I finished all my cases that day, he was waiting to take me to coffee. And he was like, let's go. We're going to go talk about this. And he was like, you're a good lawyer. Do not let this one bad experience just tell you can't do this. You can. Don't let him like treat you like this. You're going to be just fine. And I just thought that was so nice. Like somebody who I work against took some time to kind of mentor me and say, you can do this. Also, I lost several cases to Jeff, so he taught me some hard lessons outside of that coffee. I learned a lot of lessons from Jeff, but that was one of the really kindest mentoring things I had in my career. And then I'm a part of the LSAC program, so they pair you with potential students of color who want to go to law school. And Sara actually doesn't mentor law students. Like once you're a lawyer, like they gravitate to you. They're like, oh, I might want to be a lawyer. I'm like, great, let's go to coffee. Let's talk. It's the best job in the world. You can do this. So I've gone to lunch with Sara and one of her young women that she's like going to law school in college.
She's at Harvard.
She's at Harvard, you guys. She's at Harvard. So anyway, the legal field, you kind of talked about this, Sara. The legal field has historically been male dominated. What changes have you seen and what still needs to evolve?
Well, there are way more women in private practice now. I wouldn't say way more, but comparatively speaking, I think that a lot of men in the legal field don't make assumptions as much as they did anymore. And I'll tell a funny story about a lawyer who is no longer here. But I was at court like my first year and just entering some order. It was probably like an ex parte probate order or something. And I got in the elevator and there were a couple people and there was this one gentleman who's an attorney who I didn't know. And, I think he was trying to be nice. He's like, oh, I'm so-and-so. And I introduced myself and he said, where do you work? And I said, oh, I work at this law firm. He's like, oh, whose legal assistant are you? And I was like, oh, where did I move? I am from like the Midwest. This would have never happened. But I think that I would like to say that would not happen anymore. I don't think that's the assumption anymore is my point. The assumption is not that the women at the courthouse are in these roles of legal assistant and other things that you might traditionally think the women would be doing when I started. Now I think when you see women in the courtroom, people make the assumption, hopefully, that they're the lawyers, especially if they, are carrying files and things. And so I think that has changed, like just the assumptions and the attitudes towards like lawyers and women lawyers being in the courtroom more often. So
I guess being in the prosecutor's office, I've always worked with a lot of female attorneys and some that were very strong advocates in the office. What I would notice, there's not a lot of um, women in elected positions in law, and so that's something that still has to evolve. But I've been fortunate to work with a lot of really good female attorneys and learn from them.
Yeah, I agree. I think probably I think right now women are entering law school at higher rates than men. And then I think somewhere along the line they get lost in like this, like, either they take some time to stay home with kids, or they're just like a kind of a gap in the middle, and you see them less in higher positions, but they're certainly there.
can I add something?
Yeah.
I just say I also think that the attitudes in private practice have changed a lot. When I started, private practice was like, you will work this many hours and you will be there before all the partners and you will leave after all of the partners are gone. And we expect to see billable hours on the weekends and things like that. And I just think that as like society has evolved, we've evolved into like, get the work done. We don't care as much about all these like rigid things that traditionally we saw in law firms in like the 60s and 70s. And so I think it just makes it easier for people to choose private practice who might have plans and lives outside of the law. So I think there are a lot more women in private practice now than there were when I started.
Well, as a millennial, I'll just say you're welcome, because I think that we have, for better or worse, shifted the work culture. I mean, the reality is, if you're going to, my kids are over there making noise. If you're going to make somebody choose between like their children and their job, like, and they can choose their kids, they're going to. So but I agree that things have changed. I had somebody who, I had bosses who would be like, well, when you have kids, and I'm like, I don't even think this is any of your business when I have kids, or if I do, and how that impacts. But yeah. How does your work as a lawyer impact the broader community?
Well, for me as a prosecutor, it's all about public safety. And so what I do, I feel directly impacts because I'm trying to either keep people in prison or get them rehabilitated. So the goal is, at the end of the day, achieving justice for families and victims of crime, and making sure that the community's safe, and also making sure, in the appropriate cases, that people are rehabilitated so they come back out in a better way than they did when they get in.
I mean, my job is essentially that I represent the city of Yakima. I don't represent the council. I don't represent the city manager. I actually represent the entity. So when I do my work, I have to think about the community and how things will affect the broader community at large. So it's not like necessarily the same as criminal law with regards to actual people, but as an entity, like I'm always thinking, if we draft this ordinance, how does that really work for people? How does this affect, if we're regulating taxi drivers, how does this affect taxi drivers? Not just does it bring in money for the city, or can we regulate it, or can it not? So at least with the civil legal department at the city, we're always thinking about like how what we're doing can impact the community with regards to like ordinances and things like that. And I think a lot of people with regards to like municipal court, so I oversee the prosecuting division. That's the court that a lot of people see. If you're in court, most likely you're a municipal court. You're probably not committing a felony. Maybe, you drove without a license accidentally or whatever. So just seeing, making sure that municipal court runs well, that people are having good experiences, engaging with court and getting information is really important to increase the credibility of the court and the legal department, and encouraging people not to commit crimes again, but making sure that people have the information they need to make good decisions in the future through court is also important for the community, I think.
I'll just talk about my work at Central Washington Legal Aid. I don't know if you guys have had to hire lawyers. I'm sure several of you had. Do you know that they're like, and that's no shade. Lawyers are great. I wasn't like, it's not shame on you for having to hire a lawyer. Okay, here's my PSA. Lawyers are like doctors. We work better preventatively. So honestly, you should hire us before you have your oh crap moment. But we're here to help even after you've gotten yourself into the pickle. But anyways, all this to say, lawyers are not bad. Hiring one is not bad. Charlie's laugh. They're like $350 an hour.
That's pretty low.
I know that Paul and Ryan back there charge more. I'm giving you an average, okay? I've seen their billing rates, okay? They are not cheap. Lawyers are not cheap, okay? And that's one little quick phone call is 0.1, sometimes 0.2, right? And then you talk to people and they're like, I paid my lawyer $10,000 and they haven't even done anything. I'm like, well, they've done stuff, but maybe they haven't resolved your case. Maybe it's not done, right? Like $350 an hour is a lot of money, okay? And I'm talking to Rotarians with careers. So now imagine you're a single mom who works a minimum wage job. $350 it's impossible. You cannot come up with that money. So I get to help all those people who can't pay with family law and adult guardianships. And when they have a disabled child who's turning 18 and they don't speak English, but they need forms to continue to get that kid medical care. That's what I get to do. So I love what I do. I think it has a huge impact on the community because if the only people accessing the court system are people who can pay $350 an hour, it's leaving a lot of people out. And everyone knows if you have a lawyer, you're going to have a better outcome as a general rule. So we get to kind of level the playing field and help people who genuinely need help. And it's not even always that much work because you'll be surprised, in your work, something that doesn't take you that much work changes lives. So I think it impacts the broader community. What advice would you give to young women considering law or leadership roles?
Well, my notes that I made were work hard, ask questions, even if you think they're dumb questions, and then find something you enjoy, because if you love what you do as a job, it's really easy. But you got to work hard and you got to ask questions.
I'd say go for it. Take chances. Don't be afraid to fail. And I think just give grace to the others around you who are in the same position that you are.
I don't want to fail, so I don't really like that idea. But I would say all of those are really good. I also think we're all in this together. So the way you behave with other people, the relationships you build, the way you treat other people, the integrity you have, all you have is you. And if you're known for being shady and unethical, you're not going to get very far, especially in a small town. So I would echo that. Go for it. Do it. Whatever. Work hard. But also don't be obnoxious about it. And also just be willing to try it. You can learn anything. So yeah, I agree.
You got to step out of your comfort zone and sign up for something you're a little scared of doing.
Agree. Let's think. Let's end it on this. Are we I'm fine on time though, right? Okay. What's one professional accomplishment you're especially proud of?
Well, of course I didn't pick one, but I've had people come up to me out in the community and say, "Thank you for sending me to prison because it changed my life." I don't remember the case, but they've come up to me or you're the prosecutor when I was in drug court and I've been clean and sober for 10 or 15 years. So those are really significant to me because as a prosecutor, we never see the end result usually as to what happens. They go to prison or they go back out in the community. And so we never hear the aftermath of that. And so having them come up to me and remember me and how I did something for them has been a big accomplishment for me.
For the past 3 years, I've given a presentation at a municipal lawyers conference called The 10 Essentials of Being a Municipal Attorney. And it's for the new municipal attorneys who haven't done a lot of work in either municipal law or they're right out of law school. And I love this presentation because it just really breaks down in non-legal terms, like what to expect, that, you know, you need to get along with people, that you need to work hard, but also get to know people, and just kind of like the nuts and bolts of just being a good person and a good lawyer. And every year, someone from someplace in the state will call me and say, "Oh, I saw your presentation, and I just want to let you know that I was really nervous about this job, but now I feel like I can do it." And I'm like, "I didn't do that. You did that yourself. If my like Taylor Swift inspired presentation on the 10 essentials helped you out, that's great." One year it was Taylor Swift. So I love the idea that we can, you know, expound our knowledge on people in fun ways, and it actually sticks. So that always makes me feel good.
We should have made this more Taylor Swift inspired. I think for me, the work I've done at Central Washington Legal Aid is probably one of my most proudest accomplishments. When I started in 2019, I was the only employee. I was the first full-time employee. Now there's 8 of us, and you just get to make a bigger difference with more people. And so, yeah, that's it.
Okay, who's got questions?
AI
Well, we didn't prepare for these, so I don't know.
AI can do a lot of legal work in minutes that human beings would take hours to do. How is this going to affect the concept of billable hours in the profession of law?
I mean, that's probably a question for Ryan and Paul back there, but here's the thing with AI, there's issues with it. You know, you're seeing attorneys file briefs with inaccurate case law. So I just don't know that it's ever going to, I think it will streamline some things, just like having a legal assistant or a paralegal would streamline some things, but I don't know that it's going to take over. And the other thing that's coming up with AI is that since ChatGPT, all these places are kind of like, you don't own them. There's like are you giving away attorney-client confidences by using AI? And so I think you're going to see the legal field continue to grapple with what can we use this for and how can we use it? And can we use it really at all with cases if all of that data and all that information goes to a company and we've now violated our attorney-client confidentiality duty and we're possibly losing our license over it? I don't know if you guys have.
I think we're always going to need the human factor, because we can make a lot of legal arguments, but AI can't decide which arguments we should make. And that's a matter of strategy, and that's a matter of ethics, and there could be multiple different arguments we can make. And so AI can help with what arguments we can, but there always has to be a human factor.
I think that AI will never really understand the community. And so, especially when you're talking about like prosecuting or looking at city council decisions, there's always a non-legal piece of what we do that we have to take into account that I don't think AI can take into account, no matter how many documents are uploaded. Obviously, if it's just reviewing a contract to see if there's an insurance provision that says that they have $2 million of coverage, AI can do that. But I think that Tammy's right. Like, you're never going to get away from the human element, especially since we have to go to court and argue things and answer questions from the judges on legal analysis. So, but I think everyone's looking at it and trying to figure out how to use it and how to weigh that with whether or not we should be using it.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you to all of you for what you do for our communities. It's really good work. Thank you. Quinn, this question's for you. For legal aid, is there a qualifying factor for the people that you serve that's different than regular law practice?
Well, we will take anyone who has an income of 200% or less of the federal poverty guidelines. That's our only limiting factor. And to be honest, if someone's at like 205%, I'm like, fine. But most of our clients are well below. They're like 50% of the federal poverty guidelines, 60% of the federal poverty guidelines. But that's our only, and then they have to have a legal issue in the counties that we serve, but that's it. And I mean, those same people would be served if they walked into a firm and they had money, or they had a parent who could, or they paid a credit card. So there's not like a difference in like who we can serve versus who somebody else can serve. It's just they don't have money if they're coming to us.
Hello, thank you all for your amazing presentation. I have a question. In your experience or in your field, what shifts have you seen in regard to women of color in law? And also, what are some of the challenges that either you've heard from your colleagues of color in the field, of challenges that they're facing in accessing careers in law?
It's a great question. There's obviously like, I think the statistics are like on a national level, there's like 1% of lawyers are like indigenous, right? A little bit more than that, but not much are Latinas or Latinos. I think the changes that I've seen is that there is a concerted effort to bring law to underserved communities and say, we think you can do this and we will give you some supports to do it. Because the reality is law schools in and of itself difficult to get into, but then you have the LSAT and all this stuff that you should be studying for. And when I was in college, that LSAT was like $800 to study for it. And I was like, who needs to study for a test? Turns out you should. So, but I did not have money to pay for it. And now we have all these, partnerships at Heritage and other places that are like, if you just sign up for this, we'll give you these resources to take these tools that you need to launch in. And I think law schools are also giving, we're seeing a lot more like full ride scholarships to students of color, or DACA students, or, so I think that's going to take years to see a shift, right? Also, if you want to go to law school in Washington State, you've got University of Washington, Seattle University, Gonzaga University. That's it. I'm not missing, right? So you have to pack up and move. And, that's easier said than done sometimes. And so I think when you see the Heritage Pipeline program and some of these investments that are being made, you're going to see more students from rural communities deciding, yeah, this is for me. And maybe they think it's for them and they don't know how to access it. And so you're going to have more students with the tools to access. That's what I'm seeing, at least.
Okay, last question.
Thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it and the feedback. We know that the criminal justice system is already stressed. We have too few prosecutors, too few public defenders, and the state has restricted caseload now. I want to understand, maybe from your perspective, what the likely outcome of that is, and then what a possible solution that you might have to that might be.
Well, I guess we need to try to attract attorneys to this area, for one, with job opportunities and really sell the community to them. It's hard to get attorneys to come to Yakima, so I think that's part of it is getting out there and getting them to come to this area and realizing it's a good area to practice law and have a career. And then as far as the future, it's going to mean less prosecution, less crime that we can prosecute if we don't have attorneys. And so that's the end result. And so it's really important for community safety, in my opinion, to try to attract attorneys to this area and then retain them as well and keep them.
And I have done public defense work with caseload limits, right? So when I did felony work, I could have 150 points every year. That's like 150 cases, or sometimes like the really serious violent ones were 2 to 3 points each. But still, it's roughly 130 to 150 cases. I think for juvenile court, it was 250 cases a year, points a year. And then in misdemeanors, it was 400 points a year, which I've never done that, but I've done the juvenile and felony. And certainly there needs to be caseload limits. Like, we've had bad public defenders that have put that need in place, right? Like, stemmed from Grant County had the ACLU come in and take over because the attorneys that were doing the public defense work, when you could pull it all out, they could have like 5 minutes per each case that they took. That's not enough to sit down and talk to somebody, let alone try and figure out what their case is. And then they were telling people, well, if you want the premium package, you can pay us X number of dollars. Well, that's something you get to do as a public defender. So, you know, unfortunately, bad lawyers sometimes set rules in place for other lawyers. That being said, the caseload limits are continuing to drop. And me personally, I think that they're going to drop so low, it's unnecessary for them to be that low. I was on top of my work, not working probably over 40 hours a week in any of my contracts for the most part, and handling, and I think I do good work when I'm a public defender. And so I think at some level, you know, yes, we need to recruit lawyers and also kind of step in and say, wait a second, where's the data coming from that you should only have 20 cases a year? When some of those cases are, you know, a criminal trespass, right? And trying to maybe do some pushback on how many hours does this actually take you, and how low is too low. But that's just me personally.
I would just add that I think that the state needs to pay a bigger percentage of public defense, indigent defense costs. It's a constitutional requirement, much like providing public education. And I think Washington might rank last in how much money the state puts towards indigent defense. So I think there's an opportunity there to try to get more money to pay for your constitutional right to an attorney. And with more money, counties and cities would be less strapped to determine how many public defenders they can hire with their budget. So I think that there's an opportunity to try to get the state to pay more for it, which would mean that the cities and counties would pay less, and that money could go someplace else in the budget, like prosecution or diversion courts or other forms of criminal justice that we just don't have the money for because we are paying for nearly all of the indigent defense costs. So that's just like in addition to needing more, we need a lot more lawyers.
Okay, thank you, ladies. Appreciate you taking time. Very inspirational and very awesome that you are our Rotarians. You're our women. It's very exciting. I have a mini mic. Okay. Okay. Our next meeting next week, we're going to continue a little bit with this Powerful Women theme because next week on the 12th, we will have our very own Rotary District Governor, Tracy McCall, with us. She is great. She is fun to listen to. She's wonderful. Plus, it's always interesting to hear about what's going on with Rotary at the district and international level. So let's show our district governor how amazing this team is, and let's show up for her and fill the room. That would be great. Okay, I think we're ready for the heart of our club card draw. So get out your white tickets. We have $675 in the pot, and then whatever was sold today is added to that. If I draw your ticket, you get to draw a card from the deck that John Ball has. He will be in the middle of the room there, and if you draw the joker, the money is yours. Okay, 020542. Mimi. All right, Mimi. No joker? No joker. Okay, so the money keeps building. That's what happens there. Okay, I end our Rotary meetings with what I call my day. Today is a quote for International Women's Day on Sunday. Every woman's success should be an inspiration to another. We're strongest when we cheer each other on. This quote is from the 23-time Grand Slam singles tennis champion, Jimmy. Did you hear what I just said? Okay. Serena Williams. I'm talking about tennis. Who knew? But honestly, this quote is all about community over competition, right? Instead of viewing another person's achievement as a threat or a reason for comparison, it should be seen as a proof of what is possible. And we should push each other to be better, right? And you know what? We do that in this club. We do that very well in this club. That's why we're Team Rotary. So just take that with you today. We have 2 committee meetings today, Fellowship and Fireside with Sunny Cameron and Brad Hansen in the back row. And we have Allocation and Review with Dan Sullivan, and that will be in conference room number 1. So thank you all for being on Team Rotary today and in the game. With that, game's over.